Good day, everyone. I am Janice Rita Pacania, and today I am going to talk about getting started in research. So, in the previous discussions, we learned about the fundamental requirements for undertaking engineering research, and clearly, even a relatively short paper required a research plan, a research team, and approval from various organizations. So some strategic approaches are suggested in the previous discussions where a beginner is encouraged to develop research ideas and research projects from previously published research. So here we are going to talk about another alternative that we could do in order to develop a research project, and that is to consider writing a commentary on it. So there are two types of journal papers that which do not require new work to be undertaken before publication, and these are classified into comments and reviews. So in both cases, the researcher must have a comprehensive understanding of the engineering discipline and a strong current familiarity with the relevant literature. This allows the research team to make a useful contribution to the research field. So here, in making a comments and adding reviews, you are also contributing to the research field. So it is better that you have an understanding and a knowledge about that certain paper or about that certain topic. Now let's talk about them one by one. First, let's have literature reviews. From the word itself, so it means you are going to review a certain literature or a certain project. So in this case, the research question might take a form such as, can accelerometers estimate velocity in human movement? Do battery power and size follow a form of Moore's law? So the method of addressing these questions is to review the published data and formulate a statistically strong argument based on the work of other groups around the world. So, review articles are often a defined category of paper during the submission process. So, some of the requirements in literature review is that if you are going to use a figure or a photo from that previously published paper, you have to ask permission to the owner or have a copyright. In that, we could avoid complications and avoid plagiarism. Next, we have comments. So comments may take a form of research questions such as, has the theory developed by this paper been adequately tested? Can the results of the authors be reinterpreted to support a different theory? Or is the research method sufficiently robust to support the conclusions given? So comments published in journals are all limited to a small number of words. No new concepts should be introduced so that this technique cannot be used to develop new theories or report additional experimental outcomes. So scientific controversy is very important in the development of science and engineering. Many very famous discoveries were initially rejected by the reviewers of the first journal paper submissions. So a comment must review the paper and provide a well-grounded scientific basis for a different interpretation of the data. As with all scientific papers, there must be appropriate references to the literature. It is not adequate to claim that some unpublished results disagree with or contradict the findings unless previously published works can be cited. So if some contradictory findings have been already published in an open scientific literature, then there is a strong argument to submit a comment for that publication. So when comment is submitted to a journal, it is forwarded to the authors of the original papers, and if the editor will approve, then both the comment and the response will be published together. So in this manner, questions of fundamental importance can be addressed without further explanation. Now let's move on to examples. First, we have review paper. So a typical review paper would include a general introduction to the topic, followed by a discussion of various techniques that have been applied to addressing the problem. So these techniques might be divided into different categories such as theoretical analysis, experimental measurements, and numerical modeling. So the paper is summarized with a conclusion about the status of the research and a discussion of the unsolved problems. So a typical review paper is short. It is subject also to the same peer-reviewed process of other research paper. But in presenting a research paper, um, it is more unlikely because in presenting that certain topic that you are going to present or research paper should be a new development. But here, review paper Manggod, you are just going to review the literature and add something. So basically, in order to present a review paper, it should be an invited paper by a distinguished guest or an eminent person in that engineering discipline. Next example, we have data notes. So data notes are a short peer-reviewed article type that concisely describe research data stored in the repository. So it promotes the potential reuse of research data and include details of why and how the data were created. So they do not include any analysis, but they can be linked to a research article incorporating analysis of the published data set as well as the results and conclusions. Last examples, we have comments and discussions. So the fundamental electromagnetic performance of a staked antenna used in ground probing studies for mining. Geotechnical and geophysical applications was the subject of a series of comments and replies because geotechnical and geophysical applications are two very different applications. They have their similarities, but they also have their um, differences. So that differences and that similarities are engaged or could be discussed. So they are going to discuss and make comments from one to another. So the discussion involves several exchanges between the two parties. So that ends my presentation and I hope you learned something and good day everyone.